Okie doke, we're at 4.6, marking the notes of a major scale on the keyboard. So first we need to know what a key note is. What I want you guys to do is write tonic. It's called the tonic. And that is the most important note of a piece of music. Pieces almost always end on the key note, and very often will start on the key note, but not always. And they won't always end on the key note. It's just very satisfying when they do. So if 8 notes of the piece are arranged in order, starting on the key note, without skipping lines or spaces, first note is the key note, then the notes form what's called a scale. Scales are extremely important, especially for instrumentalists, but also for musicians, because if you want to ever audition for Allstate, you have to know a certain amount of scales. We're going to first learn about the major scale. That's the most common one you're going to see. That is 8 notes in ascending order, which are separated from each other according to a very special pattern. So here's our notes, 1 through 8. In between each, you have, right here, you have a whole step. Another whole step. Between 3 and 4, you have a half step. Now you're back to whole step, whole step, whole step. Very last one, between 7 and 8, is a half step. So we have whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. 2 wholes and a half, 3 wholes and a half. All right, so we're going to keep. So here's some examples of what this looks like. So here's a G major scale right here. We'll talk about why that's called G major. Well, maybe because the note starts on G. So this is how you write it. G, A, B, and C, D, E, F sharp, because we need that whole step, and then half step back to G. So if you start on G, you gotta have that F sharp in there. It's very important. So we're gonna start with just drawing dots on the keyboard here, using this pattern here. Okay, so here's our first note. We need a whole step between this note here and the next. Whole step, 1, 2 half steps is a whole step. We need another whole step, 1, 2. Now we need a half step. Do, do, do. Here's just 1 in between. Done. Now I need a whole step between 4 and 5. Done. And between 5 and 6, same thing. 1, 2 half steps is a whole. Done. Another whole step between 6 and 7. 1, 2. Done. And then finally, half step. Done. If you're not sure if you made it, check that the beginning and the end are the same. They're both on E. We're good. Okay, let's look at this next one. Here's our key note. Whole step. 1, 2 half steps. Done, done. Another whole step between 2 and 3. 1, 2. Okay. Half step between 3 and 4. Whole step between 4 and 5. Whole step between 5 and 6. Whole step between 6 and 7. And then finally half step. Okay, does this match that first one? Yes, it does. They're both on D flat. Perfect. And that is how major scales work.